All right. So the next
What
point.
does mean?
That's a recommendation. Put the student in the center, not the program. When I grew up in the Netherlands, it was still the program was leading. The program was the same for every kid. That means no matter whether you are a good student or you're not a good student, whether you had a talent for maths or for history or for it didn't really matter. When you were 6 years old, you were supposed to go to school and you would go through the program just like everybody else. The program was very much leading. Nowadays, this has changed dramatically. There are many different kinds of school in the Netherlands, but the thing that they have in common is that they put the student in the center. So they focus.
Why do we put the student in the center?
Basically, the student is much more important. Is this student, is he still very young, wants to play, or is very interested in art? Then why don't we give him a little bit more space to develop himself in art instead of necessarily trying to force maths into the student. So it's a student-oriented type of education. Education is much more, for example, based on experiences. So when I went to school, it was clear that every Monday from 8:30 to 10 we would do maths, and then from 10 to 11 we would do reading, and then from 11 to quarter to 12 we would do history. It was just everything was a different subject, very well specified and based on the curriculum. But nowadays a lot of the education is kind of integrates everything. They do projects that have elements of reading, that have elements of maths, that have elements of history. Everything is integrated to be more engaging, to be more inspiring to the students. Less abstract, more child-oriented. Maybe if we can look at the video, you'll get a better understanding of what I'm talking about.
This one?
Yes. Right, so what you see here in this system, there is much more freedom to do things at your own pace, to develop yourself. It's an encouraging environment, whereas my education, I can still remember, it was much more of a, okay, now you need to do that, and then there is this test, and if you do well on the test, you get a good grade, and if you don't get a good grade. If you don't get a good grade, you will have to remain in the same class for another year. That kind of system, one size fits all, is not true. Doesn't fit all. There are a lot of kids who do not fit so well in that system, and maybe because they are just not good at maths, but they are excellent at craft, and they could develop themselves in perfect craftsmen. Just if there was space for that in the program. Now that space doesn't exist. That means that kids cannot develop themselves in the direction that they are comfortable with. That kind of education system is now very much in place.
It means they need to consider every student's skill and talent.
Right, but also the kids themselves will find their ways and go into a certain direction. Doesn't mean that you're completely free and well, okay, if I don't want to do math, then you don't have to learn math at all, but it's at your own pace. If it takes you a little bit more time, then it'll take a little bit more time.
We don't do it in Japan.
No, we didn't do it in the Netherlands when I was a kid either. But I think that the education right now, I see from very up close how my niece enjoys to go to school, and it's really for her an opportunity. For her, it's almost like playing all the time. It's just very enjoyable. She loves it. When, for example, a day for her is a day when they learn. They have to make their own vegetable garden. Next to the school, there's a little plot of land, so they have to make their own vegetable garden. The garden needs to be 2 square meters. And they need to grow those vegetables. They need to actually then harvest them, and they need to sell them to other kids. So what they learn is they learn a little bit about geometry, they learn a little bit about biology, they learn a little bit about calculus, a little bit about economics. All these things are basically integral into this playing. So that kind of that is the background now of more and more children in Europe, and that the space to be a kid and not having to be having an educational system be thrust down your throat, like Japan, where we are preparing our kids to be very good at taking swift tests and reproducing the stuff that we were forced to memorize. Does that really make our kids much better? I think a program like Montessori, but there are a lot of other programs as well in the Netherlands, will help our kids to become more agile, more adept, and develop in the direction that where they can make a difference.
This training gives them more flexibility, or
yeah,
or more open-minded thinking.
More freedom, more open-minded, wider perspective. They like, for example, I remember I had to read about 55 or 60 books in my last year in high school. There were so many books I had to read that it took me maybe a couple of years before I started to read books again, because I was so fed up of it. I didn't read for as an enjoyment for many years after I graduated from high school. It's a pity. I really enjoyed reading, but it was just too much.
50 books?
55 or something, I think.
For 1 year?
Yeah.
Okay.
You know, that's what I thought. No kidding. But we were, but because I took English, German, and Dutch. Yeah, that's about 55 books.
Can you speak French?
A little, but I didn't take exam in.
You can speak German. Dutch.
Yeah, German is my German used to be as good, if not better, than my English, but it's been a while.
Next one is very more similar to this one.
Yes, actually, more freedom for younger kids. This is a very interesting video. This is about Finland. It's a documentary from Michael Moore.
Really?
Very interesting.